Hey my loves, welcome back to another tutorial. On today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make this sleeveless asymmetrical gathered dress you are seeing in the video and in the thumbnail. If this is something you're interested in making, kindly keep watching and please subscribe if you have not subscribed, like and leave a comment in the comment section. Without wasting my time, let's get into the making of the dress. For this tutorial, I'll be using crepe fabric. I use 1.5 yard plain fabric, that will be for the body, and then I use 2 yards flowing or flowered fabric. You can also use Ankara for this if you want. This is going to be a dartless dress, but you can add that to yours, the normal dart or a princess dart. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description on how to cut the princess dart if you want to use that for yours. I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together, so I just folded it over 4 and then I left a little bit of space in front and measured 2 inches for the zipper allowance, and then I joined with a row, and then on the top I just marked my starting line over there. On the starting line, I went ahead to mark half of my shoulder measurement, and then I went ahead to mark my neck width, which is 3.5. From there, I went ahead to take my neck depth of 3.5 inches. If you want yours a little bit higher, you can make it 3 inches or 2.5 inches. And then afterwards, I just connected the point with my curve. So from there, I went ahead to mark my chest line, my bust line, and then my waistline as well as my hip line. So after I finished marking out the points, I extended the lines. After I finished extending the lines, I extended the hip line downwards by 3 inches because that is where we are going to be getting our asymmetrical line or design. Sorry, this was showing off camera. So from there, I extended my shoulder line downwards, and then I went ahead to mark quarter of my bust measurement on my chest line, quarter of my waist measurement on my waistline, and then I went ahead to mark quarter of my hip measurement on my hip line as well. After I was done, I added 2 inches seam allowance to my hip, to my waist, and then to my chest line as well. So after marking all the points, I went ahead to use my curve to connect all the points that I marked. So for my shoulder sloping, I came down by 1 inch and then I connected it to my neckline. So after I finished doing that, I divided my armhole into 2 and then I marked the center of it. After I finished doing that, I came in by 1/2 inches and then I connected the point I made to the shoulder and then to my chest line, as you see me doing. This was to get an armhole curve, and then after I finished that, I went ahead to cut the dress out. After we are done doing that, we are going to pin the zipper allowance, and then we are going to put the shoulders right sides facing each other, and then we are going to pin them down. We are doing this for both shoulders. From there, we are going to go on to our sewing machine, and then we are going to sew the shoulder, and then we are going to close the zipper allowance up. You can do this by using loose stitches so that later on if you are undoing it can be very easy. The next thing we are going to be doing is to work on our asymmetrical part of the dress. So from my hip line, I went up by 3 inches. Depending on the how high you want one side to be moving up, you have to either extend it or make it a little bit less. Now this is where you can come up with all the designs you want. Either you want it a little bit curvy, you want it to be slanted, you want it just a straight line. This is where you can come up with a design. For mine, I just connected the 3 inches I marked to the other side of the dress and just did a little bit of curve, not so much. And then I just went ahead to cut that part out to give me the asymmetrical part of the dress. I went ahead to give my front part a little bit of square neckline. You can skip this part if you want yours round. So to get the length of the gathers, I'm going to measure the short side of the dress Since both of the sides are not equal, I'm going to measure the short part of the dress, and whatever that I get after I measure the short part, I am going to take that out of my full dress measurement, and the remaining is what I'm going to cut for the gathers. For my gathers, I didn't want it to flow so much and I didn't want it so long, so then I divided my fabric into two. You can just use the 2 yards to do it without even having to divide it if you want it to be really long, so you can do that. And if you want a lot of gathering, you can also choose to divide the fabric into two. You join and then you gather to get more of the gathering. So I just use one part of my fabric. I cut the fabric into two and then I just use one side of it and gathered. The next thing we are going to be doing is to close up the sides of our dress and then we can attach our gathers. For the gathering, you can gather using needle and thread, or use the gathering presser foot, or you can just create two lines along the fabric, the top of the fabric, and then you'd have to pull so you get the gathers. So now we are going to be joining the gathers. So putting the right sides facing each other, I'll be starting from one end of the zipper allowance, and then I'm going to be pinning the gathers round the dress till I get to the other end of the zipper allowance. So you watch this part carefully and then you do the same. So after we are done pinning the gathers to the dress, we are going to go on to our sewing machine and then we are going to sew on top of it. We are going to sew over it to secure the gathers to the dress. So after attaching the gathering, this is what we had. And then the next thing that we are going to be doing from here is to attach our zip. After we are done attaching the zip, the next thing that we are going to be doing is to remove the excess thread that is showing on the fabric after the gathering was done. So you'd have to take your time to pull every thread out, the thread that is showing on the gathered parts. So the next thing that we are going to be doing is to close up our armhole and our neckline. I'm going to be using cotton bias to close up mine. The next thing that we are going to be doing is to hem the dress. If you have a knitting machine, you can knit the down part and then fold it over once. Or if you don't have a knitting machine, you can just fold it over twice and that will be all. This brings us to the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, leave a comment, and see you in my next video.